Good afternoon. Please don't drop off halfway through the... Oh, I get one of these. That's useful. Anyway, please don't drop off during my session. I know it usually happens after lunch. It's fine. If I do see anyone nodding off, I'll pick on you. So what I want to do was discuss why is this so hard, right? I've been doing this 26 years, as was stated. It's still really difficult, if not getting harder. Oh, next. Nope. Is it back? Ah, there we go. So who am I? Obviously, you can see this is pre-COVID, when I've packed the pounds on since then, and also this is heavily photoshopped. But this is me, right? So I'm a seasoned security practitioner, 26 plus years. I've worked for the Treasury, sort of. After 9/11, I think there was a bit of a panic to hire security professionals. I use the word professional loosely, because if you'll notice, I am an ex-hacker. So I ended up working for a company that looked after the website for the Treasury at the age of 21 by myself. Lots of fun. Since then, I've worked for Disney, CLS, M. Brown, Rathbones, and now RTGS Global. So financial services, massive media organizations, retail, and then wealth management and financial services again. I'm a mentor, public speaker, ex-hacker, and security researcher. Here's a quick slide. As you can see, hacker days from '95, when the hair was still a little bit more there, right? And I also thought dreadlocks were cool on a white guy. Then I did some government work, followed by Disney, where obviously I was Jafar, a little parrot on the shoulder. CLS, which picture has failed to load, but it's a great headshot. N. Brown, Rathbones, and now RTGS. So that's who I am. Established credibility, I think, is the first thing you're supposed to do in a talk. I read about that once. So here is the hacker's view. And this I love, and it also terrifies the crap out of me. So hackers have all the time in the world to compromise a target. And they only need to succeed once. Find one flaw, and you're doomed if you don't have defense in depth and alerting systems. And even if you do, as I get through my talk, you'll see it doesn't really actually matter that much. As a head of security, one single flaw could lead to a compromise. And I have only but to fail once. And this literally does keep me up at night a lot of the times. Luckily, well, I have lots of support, and I have a good budget to do my security tooling and stuff, and training and great staff. But it's really hard not to fail just once. So how bad is it? So this on the, this one on the, I guess, right, is the successful cyber attacks just in September. And this is tiny. I have to make the font like 5.5 on a PowerPoint just to fit in the entire column. And these are only the publicly known breaches. These aren't even the ones that we don't talk about. These are just ones that happened to get released for whatever reason. So as you can see, like successful cyber attacks. One of the interesting things for, I don't know, most of the 2000s, early 2000s, 2010 and forward, insider threat was like the #1 security concern, right? We all had it drilled into us time and time and time again. Insider threat is the one thing you have to protect against, protect against. In the last couple of years, that's completely changed. External attacks, external compromise are the biggest threat to an organization now, which is insane. I love it because I like the technical aspect. I was never a great fan of like hacking being social engineering or denial of service. To me, social engineering is just lying to get what you want, and denial of service is just a nuisance. Although it is used in conjunction with breaking into things, so that's just my view. Successful ransomware attacks, interestingly enough, actually not as much as I'd expected in September. We all hear that ransomware is like massive, and it is. There's a huge amount of damage done because of it, but it wasn't as much as external cyber attacks in September. So we need to kind of focus on our perimeters a lot more. And then data breaches and malicious insiders. Tiny little box. Not as big as I'd expected either. But your data breaches, accidentally sending customer details to an address that you're not supposed to, which unfortunately happens all the time. And then malicious insiders basically stealing your IP and using that for whatever reasons or nefarious acts they wish. Okay, cool, I got canceled. All right, so that was 88 publicly disclosed security incidents with 35.5 million personal records breached in September. So, yay, expect more phishing and more phishing basically. That's insane, and that was a quiet month. Look at August. August was almost, it's like 97.4 million records, and some pretty cool places that got hacked as well. So Revolut got done, Take-Two that does GTA 6 for the gamers, and Uber. 112 publicly disclosed security incidents that we know about that people were willing to admit to or ended up in the press. The best one is the Revolut one. I am a customer. 2 weeks ago, I got a text message saying, hey, you need to change your Revolut password. It's like, I think I replied back with something along the lines of, I see you're making good use of that data breach. They're already active, and this was probably happened 3 weeks ago. Straight away, it's like, hello, Revolut customer, please change your password. Click this link. It's that quick. They're exploiting, and they're starting to pivot. They're breaching, and then they're targeting users and customers. And let's be honest, not a lot of people are, unless you work in this industry or reading the news all the time, a text message like that is probably going to work quite a lot of the times. So it is scary, and it's a very big problem. And if I haven't depressed you enough, here's the current state of cyber, right? So industry grew by 7% in 2021. Probably not going to grow that much this year, some sort of recession thing. By 2026, the cybersecurity market will be about 345 billion is being spent on cybersecurity. That's mental. Since I've started, I can't believe it's getting up to that level. Followed by, there are so many vendors out there, right? And I think my favorite one this year is the one I'm seeing pushed more and more and more is your learning platforms, your cybersecurity training platforms. I think I probably get approached about 6 times a week with a new cybersecurity training platform. How much good does it do? Yeah, we're bleeding data daily, even so we've got all these vendors. Like the previous slide explains, 94 million records. Recruitment is so broken. Like it has been ruined. You now have junior roles that require 5+ years worth of experience, which isn't possible for a junior role, unless you count university or you're hiring people who used to be hackers, right? It's insane. We need to have a little word with ourselves about who we take into the industry and be a little bit more careful and cautious about what jobs we put out there. I've built successful teams at M. Brown with a very low budget for headcount. Like I think our initial salaries were in like the low 20s, right? For security analysts, junior security analysts, don't make that face, right? But it's hard to get people at that level, right? Very, very difficult to get good people. But if you bring them in and then you actually, like was said, train them up, mentor them correctly, all of those people, well, they've gone on to get 2 to 3 times their salary within 2 to 3 years. But it's getting that people in the door. And I had one person who had done a course at university, had passed, but had done something about like Windows 11 data leakage, not really much about security stuff, just sort of information stuff. Another guy who'd just come over from Poland, just people who were interested and had the right mindset. You've got to take a chance sometimes on these people. Don't expect somebody to have done a forensics degree, then worked for an organization for 2 years, and then is applying for your junior role, because you've got to take a chance. You've got to help people out. I would definitely not be stood here today with the career I've had if somebody hadn't given me that chance. So I try and make sure that I always do that. I fail sometimes, and I do gatekeep, because that's just what everyone does, but I've got better. Often, reality doesn't match up with the job spec, right? I've gone to so many businesses, and they're like, hey, listen, we've got this great security program. We're totally going to invest in everything. We're so secure. Turn up on day one, and you're like, that's not what I'm seeing. So yeah, just be aware of that if you are moving about. No matter what a vendor says, there literally is no silver bullet. I've been doing this for a very long time. It does not exist. Defense and depth, still the key. And yeah, the bottom one. I'll spend a minute on this, right? Patching is bloody hard. Regardless of what anyone says, it is an absolute nightmare. It's like, oh, it's the first thing you need to do to secure your business. I've worked in a business that was 100 years old, had grown organically, had a mainframe, a database that hadn't been supported since 1970, and it's like, well, how do I apply patches to this? And then you have to go and find that these businesses don't have high availability. They have mission-critical systems that you have to patch, but you can't take it down because you'll lose X million pounds a minute. Patching is hard, and everyone needs to just be cool with the fact that it's really, really difficult, and you have to have a solid plan to figure out how you're going to do it. I'm in a lovely position now. I work for a startup. We're entirely Azure-based. We have no legacy. We have no on-prem. I have no network to secure. I don't need to patch the 1970s database. I don't need to do any of that stuff now. But for everyone else, it's not easy. And I think when I ran vulnerability scan and analysis at one of the places I worked at, we found 250,000 vulnerabilities. And they were like, our posture is great, because they scanned this tiny little slice of the network. Do you know how long it took us to resolve that? I don't know, I left after 4 years. So, right? But we did get down, we addressed the criticals and highs and all that sort of stuff. But you've got to come up with a solid plan to do it. And you've got to work with your technology teams, your IT teams, your business owners, unfortunately, and the stakeholders, because you've got to get their buy-in to take their systems down. And it's very difficult. What am I doing for time? Oh, okay, not too bad. Right. I'll give you a little hacker story. And this goes back to you only need to fail once. So once upon a time, Bob, in air quotes, he had a friend. She was a Polish model, and she wanted her photos from her early career taken down off the internet because, well, she wanted the newer stuff, the better stuff. So Bob went along, and it's pretty tricky to remove images from the internet. I've tried for many, many different people, right? Some of the sites will allow you to do it through standard takedown. Other one will require DMCR requests or digital rights media requests, and they will do it. Other sites just literally will not respond. So Bob had a little bit of a play, looked at this website, and was like, oh, okay, cool. Can't find anything. Nothing seems to be occurring. Kept checking every month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. They introduced a new CMS. That CMS had a SQL injection. And what happened there was Bob spent some time manually trying SQL injections until one day he actually was able to get in and grab the password file and the shadow file and was able to then compromise the system and then pull down those photos. The moral of the story is, literally, you only need to fail once. Security has to be done all the time. If you've got a system that you've pen tested 2 months ago and you make some changes, guess what? That pen test isn't valid anymore. Things have changed. SQL injections can be injected. We need to be very aware that pen testing is a point in time. And I don't think a lot of people, well, maybe you guys in this room do, definitely the business people do not understand that. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's you can make small changes that can have significant impacts across your business. So yeah, that's a little bit of a story for you. Click. All right, so finally, a little bit. Okay, so finally, I do believe there has to be a point to this story that's not all just doom and gloom, right? Because let's be honest, it is, as I say, it's a really hard job to do. And there is no silver bullet. There's no way of making life any better. A couple of other things that on a train on the way up here, I was just casually doom scrolling, came across the, so what was it? This year, the most crypto has been stolen. That figure is 3 billion in crypto has been stolen in this 1 year. And, it's October. So that number is going to go up. So even though we've got fiat currency, by the way, apparently way more secure. And then the other one was that Microsoft had a data breach in September, and some security researcher had had created a web portal where you could scan for customer addresses of 65 to 100,000 email addresses of people who had a business interest in Microsoft. Microsoft also fail. It's okay, great, depending on your review, but the point is, even large organizations, it's only getting worse. It's very hard. It's very complicated. And you all deserve to, a round of applause, basically, for having the guts to do this job. So you don't need to be a rock star to make a difference. Like I said, I've hired people who have just literally come fresh out of university, haven't even done cyber courses, have only shown an inkling of an interest, and have gone on to help me patch 250,000 vulnerabilities and done it successfully. So please, when somebody comes to you looking for a job, don't just discount them because they haven't got, I can't even think of a qualification. I have none, 0 to this day in cybersecurity, and I will leave this planet with none. You do not need to have those qualifications to be successful in cyber. They help sometimes to get past your, tick box for HR. Cybersecurity is an arms race, and unfortunately, we are definitely not winning right now. We're not. I wish we were, because my job would be easier and my life would be easier, but we're not. Pen testing, again, point in time. Please make sure that you have regular, continuous monitoring, pen testing going on within any of your key systems that are publicly available, because it's now publicly available assets that are getting hit the hardest. Continue to educate all colleagues and the C-level execs. By the way, this talk that I gave with a few more incriminating slides, I gave to my board and the senior leadership on Monday. I'm lucky. My senior leadership and the board want to know that level of transparency. They want to understand it. They're keen, they're hungry. That's not always the case. It's very hard to prove return on investment in cyber, because unless you get hacked, insurance policy, right? Sometimes you can be like, but these people got hit, but that's not how it works. The worst thing I've ever heard, and I have heard many times, is it's okay, we just need to be more secure than the next guy. That's a worry. Poor next guy. Keep learning, never give up. Like literally, I learned new information on the way up on the train today so that I could then randomly talk about it today. You can't stop. And that is, by the way, draining as well. Like I said, I used to have hair. Keep focusing on the small wins, like no matter what it is, the patching thing. Even if you patch one system and it's successful and you get rid of a high or a critical vulnerability, massively beneficial. Small business, don't gatekeep. I do this, and I did this for ages because I used to be an elite hacker, blah, 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 right? So I would hold back information or be like, oh, surely I figured it out. Share knowledge, tell stories, help people, all the way down from your juniors all the way up to C-levels. And then finally, mentoring is literally everyone's job in the company. I even get my juniors to mentor other juniors when they join. And with that, that's my talk. Let's see. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much.